Okay, in the previous video we looked at the basics of using an adjustment layer here and using a mask. And I want to keep the same adjustment layer in certain other areas as well, but I don't want to have to paint it. I want to have a little bit more control over exactly where it is. So I want to kind of have some of these rows have the same tint to it. So instead of coming in here, and you could, by the way, come in here with your paintbrush, set to white, and just paint. The problem is it's not exact. So I'm going to do something a little bit more exact here. I'm going to come up here to my toolbar, and I'm going to go, we've used the selection tool before for squares and circles, but go to the one below that. This is called the lasso, the selection lasso. And the lasso, of course, as you may have guessed, allows me to kind of come in here, just kind of click and drag, and kind of create a selection based on wherever I drag my pen, that way, or my mask. That way I can have a little more control over what I'm getting. So I'm just going to drag this out like this. Okay. Now to kind of let it go, just bring it back to where it started and let go of the mouse. Now you have a selection here. Now you can see here, if I hit Control plus to zoom in, it's a little bit imperfect. Now with this lasso, I can hold down the Alt key, and you're going to see a little minus sign appear by that lasso. I can just kind of come in here with the Alt key pressed and basically kind of remove some of that selection. So I can kind of get in there and be a little more exact if I want to. But most of this, hitting Control minus to zoom out, most of this isn't going to be exact anyway. It's flower, so who knows. But now that I have this selection, I can just tap here in my mask, hit B to go to my paintbrush with white as my color, and if I start painting, right, it'll just put paint just in that area. Okay, I'll hit deselect to kind of make that go away, and now I'll do the same thing on the other side. I'll hit my lasso key. The shortcut for your lasso key, by the way, is L. So I can just hit L to select my lasso again. You can see here I've gone a little over the horizon. I'm going to fix that in a little bit. Don't worry about it. The good thing about mask, and by the way, I don't need to do it all at once. I can just do a little bit like this to kind of get that started. I can hold down the space bar and click and drag to kind of move my canvas. Now, as long as I hold down the Shift key, Shift is adding to your lasso. Alt is subtracting. So while I hold down Shift, I can come in here and do the same thing, add to my selection. I'm going to come in here and bring this back like this, and I can just come back around. Hold down Shift, add a little bit more here. And as you can see here, at the horizon, a little bit too much, so Alt, and I can just get rid of that. Okay, Shift, add, Alt to remove. Control 0 will zoom you right back out. And my brush again, and just paint white in there. There you go. Now, again, deselect. So I am pretty much done with this particular selection, this hue saturation layer. But as you can see, again, a little bit coming out here above the horizon. So I could just go here to my paintbrush. I'm going to actually go up here on my brush and crank up the hardness so it has a very hard edge, because I want to be more exact. And if I choose black as my active color, remember, black means invisible. So if I paint black in my mask, I'm telling Photoshop to hide wherever I am painting. Okay. So now Control 0 to jump back out. So now we have this, right? If I turn this layer off, you can see where we were. This is where we are now. Okay. So now I'm going to do a little bit more here on the sky. We're going to do something a little bit more kind of exact here. So let's do another hue and saturation layer. So I come down here to my little black and white circle again and do hue and saturation again, and then I can shift the hue to something else, something maybe like green and purplish. Something like that. I can crank up the saturation. I mean, this is hideously ugly, but we're not really going for beautiful here. We're just going for interesting. So let's just find something maybe that makes more sense. This is weird. Let's go with that. Okay. Now, before, right? If you remember this, we started here and we had to invert this mask so that it was black. That means nothing was visible. I want to do that again. So I'm going to tap on this mask, hit Control I to invert it. So now I can kind of do my little triangles here. But if I go to my lasso and I try and do straight lines, it's going to be tough, right? Because the lasso is not easy for that. So I want to use a different version of the lasso, one that does a better job with straight lines. So I'm going to tap, click and hold, just like before. You'll see here we have this thing called the polygonal lasso tool. The way this works is you don't click and drag, you just tap or click, and then you can just move your mouse wherever you want the next little point in the shape to be. You're going to make like hard edge shapes. So if I come here and tap, and then come over here and tap, and then come back here to where I started again, you're going to see a little circle up here, and just tap. That makes a selection. So it's a nice sharp line. Now I can go to my paintbrush, B, right? Crank up my brush size, make sure the color is now set to white. That's going to make it visible, and I can just come in here and paint that layer in there. I'm going to hit deselect, go back to my lasso tool, and do the same thing. Click, 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 come back down to where it was. See my little circle? Click to fill that. I mean to close that off, hit B for my brush, boom, and we're going to do a little bit of that, right? Deselect to make that go away. All right, let's try it 2 more times, right? Hit L for my lasso, tap back here in the center, maybe come off this way, tap, click, there it is. B for brush, there you go. Deselect. Hit L for lasso again, start here in the center, tap, click, click, click. Find that little hollow circle appear there, that means it's going to close up. Hit B for brush, and then paint that in there, and deselect, okay? So now we got that. In the next video, we're going to do a little bit of fanciness here, but for the most part, this is kind of the idea of using masks to make things look interesting.